What's up? What's up? What's up? We're back with another week of the Nerdology podcast with your boy Chris, obviously from CL Smooth Gaming, bringing you the most fire gaming content known to man. And of course, our founder of IMS Productions, Jai. You know him from Hey Jai and a bunch of other stuff. So don't forget to
President Eye Candy of Nerdology. I know y'all missed me last week.
Oh yeah, bro. Let me tell you, I missed you last week because as I told the audience, like it was my first time going solo with the podcast, and it was tough. I made it through it, but nothing like having your co-host with you to just bounce ideas off of. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to CL Smooth Gaming and IMS Productions 2023 for all kinds of fire content. But Jai, it's been some weeks. What's been going on?
Yeah, definitely. So, prepping up for the JTS After Dark mock draft. You can catch
Yes, sir.
Yeah, IMS Studios put out a couple of videos of JTS stuff, a couple of NIT Pod videos. We're now on TikTok. So also follow on TikTok IMS Studios, and then follow NIT Pod also on TikTok to catch clips from that show, and IMS Studios catch clips from all the shows as well. And I follow some fire accounts on TikTok, so you might just get some cool reposts.
Yes, sir.
Some laughs, some good music breaks.
CL Smooth Gaming is also on TikTok.
Follow CL Smooth Gaming also on TikTok. If you want to see somebody actually be kind of nice at Fortnite, go do it.
Appreciate
kind of nice. Can't gas them up too much.
Look, so my channel got the 3 subs. We want 3 subs we want 3 subs for IMS as well. If we get that, then I think Jai can hop on.
We will do a Fortnite stream.
All right, so my channel did our part. We got our 3 subs, so we got to push and get IMS to get 3 more subs.
We get 3 subs.
So y'all go follow IMS.
3 subs on IMS Studios. We will have. We will do a Fortnite stream.
Dude, that would be lit.
I am trash at shooters, so let's get to it.
That would be lit. Well, look, we got a jam-packed show tonight, Jai, man. Like we got so many things going on right now, so many interesting topics, discussions. But let's just cruise through these headlines real quick. What's been going on these last couple of weeks, as we know. So we got a new Star Wars show coming out very, very soon. Andor season 2. It drops April 22nd. I liked season 1 of Andor. I like the character of Cassian Andor in general. Just a quick thought on that. Like in Rogue One, he was probably the most compelling character outside of Jen herself, and so with his own show. Season 1 was really good. It was one of Disney's hits, right? It was up there with Mandalorian and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what they go with and what direction they go with season 2. And I'm sure we'll be talking about that on Nerdology. But great show so far. Excited for season 2. We'll be watching. Most definitely we'll be watching.
Yeah.
So
it comes in at a good time too. Show's been kind of light outside of Daredevil, so it comes at a good time.
Daredevil and Invincible and stuff like that.
Yeah, we're starting to see a lot of those streaming services, especially Disney Plus, kind of like wean down because we had such a flood of different shows from different platforms for like between that 2022-ish, 2023 era. So we're starting to see wean down to where you can kind of focus in. So hopefully that leads to better quality shows being put out instead of them just trying to flood us with value. So
right.
Yeah. Like you said, Rogue One, probably in my opinion, the only good movie to come from the third
Disney era. Yeah, same. I agree. I agree with that. Like the Disney era Star Wars, Rogue One was certainly the best. It's hard for me to think of any. I'm trying to think of
outside of the Ahsoka show too, but that's only because I like Ahsoka because I grew up on Clone Wars, the animated series, so I like Ahsoka. But I mean, and even then, I felt like the execution could have been better with that. So
I mean,
not too many promising things from the Disney era of Star Wars. So anything that we can get from pulling from the highlights of it, like Andor, I'm excited for.
Yeah. Just, I mean, not much to say about that other than like I said, this was one of Disney's few hits. Everything else has either been just okay or pretty mid. So like, I'm excited to see what they go with this. Now the thing is though, is that I didn't read a whole lot into it about like are the same writers coming back, so that has yet to be seen. But I mean, if it's anything like season one, we're in for a good ride. So, and like I said, Cassian Andor is a great character. So, sticking with the movies, film, TV show genre, we got Minecraft movie crushed it at the box office. It's opening weekend. I have not seen it yet. I'm actually going to be traveling next week, and I'm gonna see it next week when I travel. So that I'm excited to see it. Apparently Jack Black is like super funny in the movie too. So
I love Jack Black. I have no desire to see this movie whatsoever.
really,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, I like Jack Black. That's why. I mean, if Jack Black wasn't in it, I probably would also not have a desire to see it. But
Well, I do like the trend of video games turning into movies. I
right.
love that trend. The Sonic series, I feel like hit it out the park. That's been one of the best movie series.
You liked it?
Best movie series of the 2020. All three. I have not been disappointed with a single Sonic movie. But the Mario movie I thought was good. It was really funny. Even though Chris Pratt isn't the best voice actor, I thought the movie was funny.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. Minecraft, I just feel like, okay, now you're getting a little too out
A
the
little
box
too.
here. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like you could have gave us something else. Like, where's the Zelda movie?
Dude,
You know?
I know a Zelda movie would be lit.
That would be fine.
That would be lit. Yeah. That
One
would be
of
fire.
these days, that has to be a topic. Which games do we want to see in live action?
I would say like they tried making an Assassin's Creed movie some years back, and that was so bad.
It was.
And that was like
a good performance by Michael Fassbender.
Yeah. So I mean,
And
video
it was
games.
such a layup because the story of Assassin's Creed was so easy.
It's so easy, and they just screwed it up. Yeah, I know. But also, you've also had the successes like Sonic the Hedgehog. I think was a success. People really did like that. I actually have not seen that.
I would definitely recommend watching it. Audience, if you were not familiar with the Sonic lore, I did not know because I'm just so used to you just run around. It's a platform game,
right?
But
right.
that definitely made me appreciate games they did come from the 80s to where they had to develop. They shirked this platform game in, but how games used to come. Kids out there, games used to come with booklets and manuals in the cases. And they'll have a description a little bit of what the story was. Well, even in the older games, whenever it was just those platform type consoles, it had such a deep, compelling story and a deep, compelling lore. The lore of Sonic is great.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I feel like they captured that perfectly in the movie. That made me actually go get deeper into the lore of the movies in there because it's just such a good movie. So yeah.
Last of Us is another one that got adapted pretty well.
Last of Us was great.
It was great, yeah.
That's one of the hits of HBO.
It is. Oh yeah. Yes.
I will put that up there with like. I'm not gonna say it's as good as Game of Thrones, but in terms of content that HBO has produced,
yeah,
that's up there on that scale where they didn't pull. It's not their IP. It's almost never their IP, but that's up there for one of their great HBO shows. So shout out to video games.
So also what dropped this week, Marvel Rivals Season 2. If you haven't played Marvel Rivals, this might not seem as like appealing to you, but if you have played it, you know. The game is so much fun. Also, if you've seen the trailer, if you've seen Emma Frost, then you know. So
see, whenever
these developers know what they're doing. Let's just
whenever I put this recording and then get the clips, I'm gonna go ahead and put a Dr. Umar thing right there. So
look,
you see,
look, I'll be the first to
Emma
tell
Frost
you.
jiggle freak.
I'll be the first to tell you, Dr. Umar is full of shit. Dr. Umar is full of shit. You can't. Dr. Umar is full of shit. That's just all I got. We're gonna leave it there.
What's that video say? Appalled.
Hey, all right.
Shout out to Emma Frost. Marvel Rivals, very similar to Fortnite. The Battle Royale style game, but with all your favorite Marvel characters. I love it because the Hellfire Gala, the Hellfire Club was one of my favorite. Big X-Men fan, so that was like one of my favorite, arcs in X-Men. I love the little occult type of arcs that come in these stories, where it's like that's where we led into the Dark Phoenix and things like that. So I'm excited for this drop.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna
It's
probably
gonna be.
play it this weekend too. Just to test it out. I like.
Oh, you
It's one
want
of
to
those
see
games
that
that you.
Emma Frost run in real time?
Look. Aside from the aesthetics, right? Aside from the obvious aesthetics, I heard she was, pardon the pun, pretty cold to play with. Like I heard she was like that. She was like that. But I mean, look, even with the whole Emma Frost thing is such a distraction from the real headline, I think, which is we're getting Ultron in the game, and Ultron is going to be a pivotal part of like the central theme and story. So um it's gonna be crazy. And if you, like I say, if you know, if you play the game, you know that it's pretty fun. It's good to play with your friends, so it's really good to hop on. So
As a before we leave that, like just as a Fortnite player, and we see it in Marvel Rivals, and then we're even starting to see it in like other non free to play games, other console games. The season the season updates. How do you feel about that? Like, how do you think that has kind of impacted games?
that's a good question. I mean, I like the idea of it really makes me think that like developers have players in mind, because it's like you're constantly freshening up the game. Like you're constantly updating it, putting it more into it, giving us more content, things that we don't necessarily have to pay for, right? Like that's the beauty of it, is when we are getting fresh content that's not being price gouged out of us, so it makes it, whenever we have like seasons in games, and games operate in these like periodic seasons that give us new maps or new skins or new whatever, or a new story, it does make me think that the developers are more player driven rather than money driven, right?
Right.
Because we see like in Fortnite, the money's gonna come. Like they do all these collabs, they do all these, the microtransactions don't give you a competitive advantage, but people are more willing to buy into these things because
To
of
have
how
fun.
because to have fun, right? Because of how good the game is. They've put more
Right.
investment into the product, and the money came along with it. So,
Right.
when that's just, to me, that should be the blueprint. And I think that should be the seasons aspect should be the perfect model and blueprint to how sports games are operated, rather than
Right.
having a different game, a different disc come out every single year.
Pretty much any game where I would say your core feature has to do with the online mode. I think season should be the way to go.
Right.
Because
Like a battle pass or some shit like that.
Yeah, and it allows you to kind of really stretch the life of the game. And I would argue we saw it before with even though it wasn't called that, GTA 5.
Right.
GTA 5
Yeah.
spanned 3 generations of consoles, almost a decade long. And it literally, probably up until like 2 years ago, stopped. That was the last time it stopped putting out fresh content.
Right.
Without, having to pay for a DLC, download this to get this mission. No, they use like, we're just gonna update the game, and it's
Keep
something
players
that you can
playing.
participate in, because we're gonna keep it fun. We want to keep these users, because we know that the more that you play it, you're more likely to spend money on a product that you already enjoy, rather than
Right.
gaming developers. Look at that.
Yeah.
Focus on
Absolutely.
making your game playable, and people will spend money to make it fun.
They'd be more willing. Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody wants to spend money to make it playable.
That's a perfect segue to our final headline right before we move into our discussions. But Nintendo Switch, I talked about this last week. The Nintendo Switch, we have an update this week. They cancel pre-orders, so you can no longer pre-order it. Pre-ordering was gonna, you could pre-order the game early as this month. I'm sorry, the console, and it comes out in early June. So that's interesting. And obviously we know like it's a lot of things going on in the world right now. It's a lot of why they are doing this, political ramifications of why they're doing this. But nonetheless, what do you feel about this? But bigger question, actually, before you answer that, actually, bigger question is, so the price of the games that are coming out for Switch 2. It's insane. And I wanted to get your thoughts on it this week, but like games are getting more expensive. What do you think about that? Like, are the casual gamer getting priced out?
I think that no, because I think that gaming is becoming a luxury hobby. Because what we're seeing is we're seeing gaming kind of elevate itself in there. And honestly, this is the fault of streaming. This is the fault of streaming, because I think that whenever we see how lucrative streaming has become, 9 times out of 10, regardless of what's going on Twitch or YouTube, what somebody's actually streaming is playing video games.
Right.
And that's kind of originally started. If we've been honest, that's kind of what was the forefather of what pushed online content in terms of monetization. People used to play games on YouTube and they weren't making any money from it, but they just wanted to play the game, talk about the game, walkthroughs, things like that. So I would say that is the kind of like natural progression of it, because I feel like it's no longer just a pure casual hobby. Now, in saying that, I do think that, just in my opinion, I don't think Nintendo has any game that's complex enough to be worth that
$80-$90. Yeah,
I think that as we start getting, because it's not like a game with an intricate story. They don't have anything with like a super intricate story. It might have like a cool story, just from what I've seen with Nintendo, maybe like Zelda or even the games that are like The Last of Us or like Call of Duty type games, stuff like that. They don't really do well on the Nintendo products. Like the major games, they don't do well on Nintendo products. They do well
they're expanding.
Xbox.
They're expanding
now,
to like EA.
Now Steam. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like those games don't particularly do well. Nintendo is the definition for the casual gamer. I would probably say the most, I'm not even gonna call it expansive, but like the Pokemon, the Smash Brothers, the tournament style play, right?
Yeah,
those kind of games, either the tournament style or the platforming style games, the small adventure games. Whenever I think of Nintendo, I always think of something handheld, something that you don't have to sit and focus and play, something you can kind of take a Switch. That was the appeal of the Switch.
I always thought of
console that you could play on your TV or you could play in your hand whenever. That's the appeal of the Switch. So,
I thought of three things when I think of Nintendo. The three things that come to my mind is one, family-friendly games that anybody can play, any age. Mario, yeah. I do think of handheld. I do think of like accessibility, like where you could travel with them. You can, I think of those two things that I think Nintendo does really well. But the third thing I think of, which I think comes to mind more than the other two, is esports. Right? Like Nintendo is very esports driven, because you have stuff like Smash that people compete in tournaments worldwide in. So I think now we're starting to, I don't know, like that's a question that I can't really answer, because it's like, I don't know if the casual gamer is really getting priced out of like gaming casually, right? Like, I don't know, because it's, we're seeing the hyperinflation of games. I remember, like I said, last week I talked about it. I remember a time when games was $20 across the board. Across the board, they were $20. No matter what console, no matter what, the newest game that came out would be $20. And then we saw it jump to 40. And then we saw it jump to 60. Now it's at 70. Now we're looking at $80, $90 worth of games. Of course, we're going to start seeing the $100 games as soon as like when GTA 6 rolls out. I think GTA 6 is going to be the jumping off point for that. So, I mean, Nintendo having their games be this expensive. This is the most expensive Nintendo console, the Switch 2, most expensive Nintendo console that they've ever dropped. Right? It's,
the thing, I'm not mad at the console being expensive, because it's like a car. It's like a car, right? I'm never gonna be mad at what the vehicle is being expensive, and I will say that accessibility, they have a right to be expensive. They have a right to be as on par with PlayStation or an Xbox, because you do have that accessibility. You do have that large catalog of just original content. Nintendo probably has the largest catalog of exclusives.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So you do have that, but just in terms of what the games itself, there's no game that's worth $90. There's nothing that's worth that. Nothing
Nintendo can put out, certainly.
Yeah, it's nothing that you're gonna have to sit there and get through. You could probably beat. You could probably beat any Nintendo game in a day. Damn near.
And wouldn't be that hard, probably. No.
Yeah. So I just.
Zelda, maybe, I don't know. Zelda.
And that's because that shit's like mad worky. So you just gotta. That's like reading a book. But so I don't know. Not a fan of that.
Yeah, that's going to be something that I definitely want to follow that in the future. Like the price of games and how are just like, the world itself, how is that impacting our gaming industry? I mean, look, it's the world we live in. It's the reality that we have to be in. So, games are getting more expensive. Gaming consoles are getting more expensive. So we'll continue to talk about that and, revisit those conversations. In the meantime, we got 3 major superhero blockbusters that I think a lot of people are excited for. Marvel has 2, and of course DC has Superman, right? The 2 that Marvel is coming out with obviously is Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. Those are the 3 I named those 3. I singled out those 3 because I feel like those are like the big hyped ones outside of Brave New World that came out in February.
Right.
So before I go, rank your anticipation with those 3. Like, which ones are you the most excited for, down to your least?
Most excited for Fantastic Four is one. It'd be Fantastic Four, Superman, Thunderbolts.
That's mine. Yeah.
Intrigued by Superman because I want to see his take. This is a Superman that I'm not familiar with. So they're adapting the All-Star Superman storyline.
Okay.
So I'm very curious to see how he takes this. Superman is my second favorite superhero of all time. So
who's your first?
Static Shock.
Dude, nobody gives Static Shock any love.
Shout out to Lil Romeo, superhero.
Static Shock was lit back in the day.
So Static Shock, Superman, and then Batman, but not Bruce Wayne.
Terminator. It's okay, yeah.
But so Thunderbolts, I don't really care. It's hit or miss. And then ever since they kind of rolled out the slate, the Doomsday slate and everything, like I know this is just gonna be a filler movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the cast, it's 5 super soldiers. There's a bunch of dudes who go run around with guns. Like I don't know. Like you can't take me from Endgame, give me a whole bunch of mid, and then your next 2 movies are guys without real powers.
Yeah, like Brave New World.
Or no,
Thunderbolts.
Ant-Man, Brave New World, and then Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Most of Madness was in there, but that was really executed. So, I don't know. I just need more.
For hype, anticipation, our lists are the exact same, right? Fantastic Four, Superman, Thunderbolts. Intrigue. The only thing that's different for me is Fantastic Four. It's still number 1 as far as intrigue, because we've seen the reason why I'm most hyped for that is because we know that they're Marvel's first family. They're a classic Marvel staple, right? And to say that they're so iconic and that we have not had a really good rooted film with them, I think is a tragedy.
I would say this is what was they're reported to be. This is going to be the first true comic adaptation of it, while still skipping the origin, because I mean we've seen the origin a million times.
A million times. Yeah.
Comics, Cosmic Storm, come back with power.
Yeah,
but this is going to touch on not only the familial aspect of it, because they are a family. They were treated like a family. They were called the first family. But the Fantastic Four wasn't actually created as superheroes. It was in the age of comics where a lot of comic book companies were putting out things like space exploration, adventure. That adventure age, and it came out in the 60s, which at the time in America was peak science. That's whenever we got all types of innovations with technology, TVs, appliances, the space race, and things like that. So they said that they want this Fantastic Four to kind of represent that time period, which is why they're going to be starting off in their own universe. I say starting off because everybody expects it to collapse and kill some other person, things like that. So I'm just very curious to see what they do there. I like the cast a lot.
Oh yeah, me too. Definitely.
I like Pedro Pascal as an actor, although fan casting me still wanted John Krasinski to be
Reed Richards.
Mr. Fantastic. Yeah. But I'm excited for the cast. Everything I've seen about it, nothing's made me not, want to see it. Yeah. The Human Torch though, Jack Quaid, he did say something that kind of was like, kind of annoying. Me today. I read today. They asked him how is he gonna be different from Chris Evans, Johnny Storm. He was like, "Oh, that guy was a womanizer and the bad boy and laissez-faire. This guy is gonna be more cautious of other people's feelings." I'm like, nah, don't make him lame. Like,
No. Johnny Storm's character has to be the asshole. He has to be arrogant. He got to be all that. He got to be
he's the
obnoxious.
cocky little brother of the group.
Yeah. You got to make him. That's part of his. That's part of his appeal. Like you got.
That's part of his appeal. Don't make.
Yeah, don't humble him. Like that would be so dumb.
I am excited for this, and I think while it's still in the timeline of kind of the old guard of the MCU, I think this is going to be the first, because this is the first kind of preview or first sneak peek into what it's going to look like post, Doomsday and Secret Wars and all that. Whenever the old cast is pretty much about to be fleshed out, really. The old Thor, they already got Tony and Cap out of there, so they're kind of wiping their hands with how the MCU started, and so this is supposed to be like the first step into that. They got Fantastic Four, they got the X-Men, potentially the Young Avengers and things like that. So I'm just excited to see how they handle it.
I'm excited to see how they. Yeah, no, look, when we were talking about the Thunderbolts, like we obviously said that the Thunderbolts was going to be a filler movie. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Like, yeah, Fantastic Four technically would be a filler movie too, because everything's setting up for Doomsday. Like everything is being pushed towards Avengers Doomsday. So we got to take that into account. But the reason why I think it's different is because like this is a filler movie. Like, look, I'm gonna be real. Like, I don't necessarily care. Like when I watched Black Widow years back, I didn't necessarily care about none of the characters except Black Widow, which only because she was an Avenger.
Right.
But like her sister, her father, like they ain't really do nothing for me. You know what I mean? So like
street level stuff, I don't think that they should.
Yeah, they bringing back the C-listers for this one. Like this feels Thunderbolts feels like not even B-lister, like C-lister Avengers. Like this is like Avengers that you order on Temu. You know what I mean?
And I think that's kind of supposed to be like the joke of it.
Yeah.
Avengers
Obviously.
are gone, and that's supposed to be joke. That's not something that I really needed in a full movie.
A movie.
That could have been a Disney Plus series, and
a limited series.
We're gonna talk about Daredevil a little bit later, but I think that should have been like the scope of where it should have stayed.
Honestly, I thought the Defenders were a great team up. They were not a bad team. Like Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist were.
I think they
pretty interesting.
They're washing the Thunderbolts.
They would. Oh yeah.
They would watch the Thunderbolts.
Yeah. They would. No, that's a much better team up because at the end of the.
And you know what I don't like about the Thunderbolts?
What?
They don't have Star-Lord.
Yeah, well, because he's a part of his own team. I mean, I get that.
What? But the Guardians. Well, I don't know if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but he left. He left and went back to Earth.
Yeah, but that wouldn't. I don't know if that would feel right.
I mean, at least from the trailer, that seems like the vibe of this movie. That's why I thought, like, have him in there doing it seems more. This seems more Thor, Love and Thunder type feel, just without the cool powers.
I think that the biggest difference I think we both agree on here is that the Fantastic Four just holds more like aura than the Thunderbolts. But they're both going to be filler movies. As far as James Gunn's Superman, that's number 2 for me because in both categories that we talked about, because similar to what you said, I want to see James Gunn's version of this. Like, what's his version of Superman? What's his take on Superman? I want to see that. But he's also introducing like some pretty iconic DC characters that I don't feel like get a whole lot of love. Like Mr. Terrific, and we got
Hawk Girl.
Yeah, right. Like, we got a lot of people, a lot of characters that are going to be making their DCU, I guess you could call it, debut.
Yeah.
So
and
it's going to be.
That's why I'm kind of James Gunn hasn't really hit anything with me. Like I'm over the Suicide Squad. I didn't even watch because I was kind of just like over that. Like DC really started to push Harley Quinn on us a lot.
They did. And I never knew what the appeal to Harley Quinn was.
Like, it was cool, and I get it. You're trying to do the whole feminist movement thing. This is not a red pill show, but we know, like we get it. It's a different audience, and the Harley Quinn cartoon was good. Margot Robbie is a great Harley Quinn, but it was just too much Harley Quinn. You started oversaturating this for Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
I didn't really care too much about the Suicide Squad to have that much behind it. Peacemaker, while it was a good show, I don't think you should start your era into all these B-list characters.
Yeah, you're right.
Starting with Peacemaker, then you go to Creature Commandos, to where it's like, even somebody that's like, I'm a little more than a casual whenever it comes to, you know, the superhero verses and things like that. But like, I don't know these people. Like, you have to bring some name, some cachet, you know, into it. And I think that, you know, it's kind of bumbled with that.
I mean, I guess the idea with Peacemaker was that John Cena himself was the cachet.
Right, but dude, we know he died. He died in Suicide Squad. So like, what's the point of having a Peacemaker show? Now they're coming out with Peacemaker 2. And it's like, it's just, it doesn't seem like a chaotic thing. And I thought the appeal for DC, which is what the Snyderverse could have went to, was that they had the option to go a little bit more. Where MCU and Disney, they could have gone mature. Not too mature to where people wouldn't like it, but like, you know, you could have went a little bit darker. You could have focused a lot on the villains. Make Lex Luthor like evil Tony Stark, you know? But it seems like James Gunn is going to try to MCU it to where it's just going to be silly or it's going to be a little too family friendly. Like,
what do you think about the casting?
David Cornsweet, you know, he looks like Henry Cavill. Could have kept Henry Cavill.
Dude, you know, Henry Cavill is, I'm gonna ruffle a lot of feathers when I say this. I think Henry Cavill's the best Superman. And I know. I know. All right, you got Christopher Reeve. How can you top Christopher Reeve? Look, Christopher Reeve is classic. He's like the classic quintessential look of Superman. But I'm talking about just the portrayal of a Kryptonian who's born and raised on Earth, showing raw power. I don't think nobody did it better than Henry Cavill in that sense.
Okay, now, and I love that. And that's why Henry Cavill is my favorite Superman, because it was a different take on Superman. It was a non-boring take on Superman to me, because it's not the corny defender of justice. I'm gonna give a speech. You know, all that good one-liner.
The whole like, I'm Superman.
American apple pie.
Like,
no, he wasn't that. He was a god amongst mortals trying to understand his place in the world. It was his biggest battle was inner turmoil. And I think that you saw that what Snyder was trying to do, especially in like the Snyder cut of the Justice League movie, like whenever they had the little flashback thing towards the end of how they were going to set up the whole Injustice storyline. It was supposed to be like a dark Superman, right? And you know, we were supposed to see that battle. And so I thought that was an excellent take on that. So I love Henry Cavill for that. I would even go out, and I'm going to ruffle feathers even more than you. Reeves is my third Superman.
No, okay. Now we're getting crazy. Now, because I
can't think of his name right now. Dude from Smallville.
You know what? His name is escaping me too. Hold on, I'm gonna look that up. His name is escaping me too, but I know who you're talking about, and I've seen Smallville.
And that's just purely because of I liked Smallville. I liked how Smallville did. It was something very similar. You know,
Tom Welling,
yes. Give us a fresh take on it, because we know Superman is the most powerful thing. I feel like if you make Superman just the quintessential, we're gonna give you hope, and he's gonna pretend to lose in a fight, that he's gonna come back and win because he's Superman. There's nobody literally stronger than him. I don't like that version of Superman. You know, like I don't know. I just feel like, because it's hard to capture him actually struggling or him going through stuff on screen. I feel like Cavill did that well, and I feel like Gunn. This is why I'm saying I'm more intrigued by it than necessarily excited, because they're adapting the All-Star Superman, which I am not too familiar with, right? But this Superman, you see the trailer, Superman is bleeding. When was the last time? When have you ever seen Superman bleed in almost any media?
I've never seen Superman bleed necessarily in almost any media. However, in Henry Cavill's take on it, Zod was piecing him up. But see, I like that, because it was like, against regular people, no match. Right. But against Zod, who comparative to Superman Zod is a warrior, and technically Superman's a farmer from
Yeah,
Kansas.
Superman's just a guy.
A guy, yeah, like
He's a guy that's just really strong. And
so it would make
God
sense.
is the Kryptonian soldier.
I remember like in the Christopher Reeve adaptation of it when he faced Zod. I mean, why was he piecing up Zod?
But that's the thing, and that's the Superman.
Or they weren't piecing him up; he was on equal level, but still.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what they tried to make Superman be like. He has to win, or not necessarily win, but he has to be the shield. He has to be the shield. And so I feel like Cavill gave us a version of Superman where we saw his battles with himself. So he not only was just the shield, but it's like, okay, who's gonna protect him? So
he was Clark Kent. Like he was.
We saw Clark Kent.
We saw Clark Kent. Yeah,
that's perfect. Yes, we saw Clark Kent. So I'm very curious to see what we're gonna do with Gunn here. Like we saw with the trailers, people throwing cans at him. People don't like him. You saw him bleeding. I hope they don't lean too much into the crypto stuff. Like I get it. We all love crypto.
The dog,
it doesn't need to be a full thing. I'm cool with just that one scene of crypto that we seen in the trailer. That could be crypto for damn near the whole movie. I'm good on that.
I want to see a little bit more than just that one scene, but no, yeah, don't make the dog the whole movie. Yeah, don't make the
dog the whole movie.
That would be very
like that they're already gonna have an established Justice League or Justice Society of America. You know, that's what you have the Guy Gardners, you have the Mr. Terrific, you have the Hawk Girls. So it seems like some of that stuff is gonna already be established. Can we get a fine Lois Lane at some point, please?
From what I saw in the trailer, she don't look that bad.
She don't look bad. She cool. She better than anything. But like, damn, like in every Batman movie outside of The Dark Knight, Batman had some killers, man. Like,
dude, no, you're right. The Dark Knight was not. Yeah, Rachel was.
All right.
But yeah, no. Look, so we got, man, the 2025. Let's just talk about that for a sec. Like, what a year that is, because we have all these games that are gonna be that are coming out. I just saw that Mafia Old Country is set for August. By the way, that's just a little sidebar. That's gonna be dope. But then like the
story mode games, like this story.
Yeah, like, but on top of the games, the movies that are coming out this year are gonna be so fire. I'm gonna see Thunderbolts. I'm gonna give it a chance. Like, you know, I mean, I feel like keeping an open mind is the key, because like I would love to be pleasantly surprised and be like, walk out of the theater after seeing Thunderbolts and be like, damn, that was actually a pretty good movie. You know, I enjoyed that.
I mean, yeah, that's how it was with Guardians of the Galaxy.
The way I look at it is with Thunderbolts, there's no stakes. There's no stakes. No one is expecting your movie to just blow it out the water, because I think I speak for a lot of people. Do we really care about the Thunderbolts to that extent? Like, yeah, sure, it's a Marvel movie, so there's going to be a natural level of intrigue. But are we commanding the same type of intrigue that we're getting from the Fantastic Four? Hell, are we commanding the same level of intrigue that we're getting from Daredevil? You know, like, no, let's just keep it real. So I think Marvel, this is a chance to pleasantly surprise people with a good movie that's fun. Like, I think this is a movie that less about the story, make it more fun, make it crazy.
I think what they're going to. I think there's going to be a whole lot of splatter action, a whole lot of cool choreography. Anytime you have the Winter Soldier in a movie, and that's another reason why I'm disappointed with Brave New World, because all the Captain America movies had great fight choreography, except for that one. But you know, bring back the good fight choreography. You got all the super soldiers. Just give us some good hand-to-hand action sequences, and then they said that this is going to tie. The ending of it is going to tie directly into Doomsday, so that's how they're going to get people to go see it.
That's how they're going to get people to see it. Yeah.
And so just make it a fun, enjoyable experience. If you're planning on bringing any of these characters into the next phase, highlight them, accentuate them. Yeah. You know, what's up with Bucky in Brave New World? We saw him trying to be a congressman. Now he's back to shooting people. So what's next?
Bucky's such an interesting character, dude. Like it's like from where he was in Winter Soldier to where he is, actually from where he was in the first Captain America to where he is now. It's like,
I think he did 360.
He did. They did his character so well. Like his character is one of my favorite characters.
He came back to being Bucky Barnes. And I appreciate that. I actually would have loved to see him and Sam just do more together, rather than them kind of have their own separate things after the show. After Falcon and Winter Soldier, like I don't know. If you was gonna do the whole Hulk thing, don't make it Captain Brave New World. Make it a Hulk movie. And then for the Thunderbolts, you could have had Sam lead the Thunderbolts or something like that. You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
that would have been. But yeah, I'm open to it.
Switching to some gaming news. So we got a little bit more information about college football 26, and one of the things that we know is coming back to the game that. Well, I guess we don't necessarily know this for sure. I can't remember if EA actually like officially came out with this, but high school is coming back to Road to Glory. They're revamping Road to Glory. They're going to be bringing Road to Glory more features, make it more dynamic. What do you think of? This is a rumor. What did you think of a open world concept similar to like 2K's Rec, or not the Rec, but like the city coming to Road to Glory? You hate it?
I hate it. I'm tired of open world concepts and games that don't need open world. I in peace games. Pick the thing. Unless you're gonna have some kind of park system, which that doesn't work in football. We've seen that try it with the yard. It doesn't work. There's no need to do that. I don't need to run to something that I can click through a menu. It's gonna seem cool at first, and then after a while, it's just gonna be annoying because it's gonna be limited. Just don't do it. I do like the fact though that I like how EA built this, where they was like, okay, we're gonna get the infrastructure perfect. So we're gonna get the gameplay, the graphics, the animations, the fluidity, the speed of the game. We're gonna nail all that down first, and then now we're gonna bring in the features. So EA 26 was NCAA 26 was a very bare bones game. But it was purely a gameplay game. That's why I said it was something that you go play with your friends for, because that's the joy out of it, right? Mm-hmm. It's a very bare bones game. Now you start giving us the features. Let us go back to high school and Road to Glory, right? Let us play multiple positions. Let us be two-way players. You know,
they got to introduce that now. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And especially with Travis Hunter.
After what we see, Travis Hunter, yeah,
so,
1000%.
I think all those things, they have to come into effect now. Bring back, of course, you still got the Ultimate Team, but like give us some historic costume to play with in quick game. You know, give us 2019 LSU or 2001 Miami. You know, let's see that matchup in quick game. You know, something like that.
That would be fun.
Bring back the halftime with the bands and stuff like that. That was cool. You know, you showed a little glimpse of that you could do that. So now this is the year to add the features. Last year, you have the infrastructure. You can follow the same infrastructure. You don't tweak that.
Perfect, yeah.
But if at all, now you just add the features on top of it and see what it can handle. So I do like that. I do like the fact they are improving on Road to Glory. But don't make it open world. I'm over open world. Like Assassin's Creed, they say that this is their last open world game, which thank God, that's probably the only worst thing about it. But yeah, I'm
gonna push back on a little bit. I think open world gives the opportunity of exploration, which just naturally piques people's curiosity, right? So for me, it depends. Like I would be open to an open world concept coming to Road to Glory. My thing would be though is what you would have for them to nail it. What they would have to do for me is don't just make it open world for the sake of open world. I'm gonna give you a blueprint. There's a game out right now called ESG Football, right? Completely open world. Has like the park concept. You can play like quick games, but it's free to play. It's not world shattering. It's really not that good of a game, to be honest with you. But EA is obviously a much bigger company than some indie game. So they can take that concept and elevate it to new heights if done well. But if you're going to give us an open world concept to Road to Glory, it has to be useful. So for example, I can walk around in the city and do training, go to the gym, do something that makes my player better, right? Things that elevate my player to where on game days, make it to where I got to go. Like the open world could just be your campus, right? It could just be your campus. And you don't even need licensing for that. You can just make a generic campus.
I would say with that, you would need to do a lot. Like at that point, you're making a college simulator, a college athlete simulator.
Pretty much.
Is like, okay.
But that's what Road to Glory is supposed to be. A football player.
Yeah, but I also think like, what all can you do on the campus besides the training drills and
you have to see, that's the thing. That's the thing is that like it doesn't have to be too much. It doesn't have to be this blown up thing. Really, all we need is somewhere to work out, somewhere to train, go to practice, and class, and to do that in some kind of timely order. But the reason why it would still be open world is because you can determine how, like, when and where and how you do that order, right, along this map essentially. So I think that's not a terrible concept. I mean,
not terrible, but I think that's a luxury item. I feel like you can add more. Yeah. I think that's something you can do with more other features. You can do that after you have more stuff.
What EA did talk about, they did express that they were trying to build upon Road to Glory, like, because that's something that was a big criticism for 25, was that Road to Glory didn't seem like it was like really that thought out. It wasn't really that flushed.
It was bare bones.
It was very bare bones, and I thought it was a little boring because outside of playing that, I stopped playing it because after a while, like, you play your games, but then you can pretty much simulate and just run through everything else. Like, everything else is just a full screen on the screen, where a menu option, really, it's just a menu option. And like, to me, you gotta do a little bit more.
You need to click any other menu option other than play the game.
I think that's so that they're gonna look at that
for doing anything else. So I wouldn't mind that if you actually got perks for doing other stuff. So like, let's say like the only way you can get certain skill upgrades was you had to go to training. The only way you get access to more plays in the playbook, you had to go to this film room.
Session. Film
session. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm not mad at that. You got access to different gear if you go take NIL meetings. Little things like that. Okay, fine. I'm cool with that. Let me stop giving EA more sauce.
They have to start hiring us at some point. These are great ideas. I'm not gonna lie, but that to that point though, that is exactly what I mean when I say, like, just they have to make it useful.
Yeah.
Right. Like, if it's not useful, then it's a waste of time. Like, I think I look at 2K's open world as not all that useful because I don't care about it. I don't care about going to the Gatorade Center because I have they brought back my court, and the Gatorade Center doesn't even much help you when it comes to your performance in things like the rec and pro-am. It doesn't really help you that much.
Because you can just buy the Gatorade with the VC, and then once you hit a certain level, you're gonna have a thing anyway.
Yeah, and also your timing, the latency is different, so none of that means anything in 2K. I think you have a much better chance of executing this same or a similar concept in a football game than in a college football game. I don't think it would work well with Madden, because in Madden it would have to be similar to 2K, where it'd have to be like a city. But in a college football game, you can confine it to a college campus. And like the social aspect, if you just want to throw in like that as for like just for fun, you could have social activities that you can just engage in as like mini games and stuff like that. It would make the game a little bit more dynamic.
I think you should. I think unless you're gonna, I think 2K worked with the open world only in the aspect of it's basketball, so you can go pick up and play basketball at the park, right?
Yeah.
Now, unless you do something like the yard, it doesn't need to be open world. But I do think that for NCAA and by extension Madden, you can start implementing those things like in a career mode of where, because we've seen it before in the older Maddens of like, oh, you go take this meeting for an endorsement. Now you can do that with both because of NIL. You know what I'm saying? You go to film room. You make these things a key aspect of it. You can do the mini games where you're working out in the drills during the season, stuff like that. So you can do that stuff in it without necessarily being open world. I think that's just hard to do with football, unless you're gonna do some kind of, because the perk of the city came from the park, and then you wanted to wear your swag at the park, so you go to the store. You wanted to go do that. It was multiple courts, so the city is really just an expansion of the park. That's why it works so well in 2K. Unless you have something like that in football, where you have multiple fields where you can go get, y'all running 7-on-7 or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or
that would be dope.
Yeah, it'll be dope, and I think you can just limit it a little bit, but you'll have to do something like that to justify the actual open worldness of it. If I'm just offline, or if I'm just single player, just running around on something I could have clicked through a menu.
Yeah, No, I feel that same way. That's so it remains to be seen. I think it's an interesting concept. Like I said, I
I
think
do
we're
like the
both on
fact
I
that
think
they're
we're both on
thinking
the same
about it, though.
page.
I do like
Yeah,
the fact that
yeah.
they're thinking about it. They're taking the initiative to be like, hey, we did good, so let's get better.
You
And I
get
think
better.
all games need to, especially if you're a new game or a turning game or something like that, follow that model. Get the gameplay down first. That's the thing. Too many people try to put the cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Get the gameplay down first, and then just build on top of the gameplay.
You
If the
said something very
gameplay is
interesting.
good, people are gonna go back to it. That's what makes the game enjoyable.
You said something very interesting that I 1000% agree with, was that mechanically the game is fine. There's like that part of it is, you got that. Just bring that back, bring that over. Maybe tweak some things, maybe tweak some bugs here and there. But if, for the most part, yeah. Well, tackling, you're right. Actually, you know what's funny is the more I played, the more I started to understand what you mean. Especially when I started playing online, the tackling. Yeah. I get what you mean. But
it didn't take away from the fun. It
didn't take away from the fun. No, it was an
all.
offensive game. It's an offensive game.
Right.
But mechanically tweak a few minor things, but most part bring that shit over, because it's like the game played well. It felt, in my opinion, and I remember in our very, very first episode of Nerdology last year, we had this debate. In my opinion, it felt better than Madden. Madden just felt a little slower for me, and Madden was always a little weird for me ever since Madden 17 was like the last good one I had fun with. But bring that over. Now to your point, you're right. Like, now let's add features. Let's add more presentation and more spectacle to make the game truly as immersive as possible into like a college game day. Bring back the bands, like you said. Like, I like that idea a lot. I don't need a halftime recap. Madden does that. I don't need that. I would love a cutscene of bands, student sections, tailgates. I would love to see.
It was Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee, or like
McAfee and Saban on college game day while you're playing your dynasty.
Which, by the way, Scott Hansen could be coming to Madden.
Really?
Yeah, like replacing like Jonathan Coachman. You know how like Jonathan Coachman does the halftimes. So yeah, Scott Hansen with 7 hours of commercial-free football, NFL Red Zone, I think it's called. Yeah, he could be coming to Madden. That would be awesome. I like that.
Like, you think the NCAA, they did like a halftime presentation? Because I know, and it was something NBA Live did back whenever they NBA Live 19. That was such an underrated game, but it was like it's like a cool feature that they did. You can go look at the highlights of the game, and they would kind of give a breakdown. See, EA used to be invested in that kind of stuff. So if you're gonna do it, bring that back. Don't just flash up the score. Right. Don't just flash up the box score, which we can go click at the menu and see. Go do something with it. So I think this is their time to do that, because they took the approach. They didn't listen to their cousins down the hall in Madden, and it was like, nah, we're gonna make sure our gameplay isn't glitchy, buggy, or cheesy.
Right.
We're gonna get this down, gameplay down, and then you can go do it.
So we're running out of show here, but this was definitely a topic I wanted to get into before we head out. But so talking to a lot of these Batman stands, I actually had a debate with my friend earlier this week, and I saw this on so many reels. According to a Batman stand, Batman can beat anybody with prep time. Like, give him time to prepare. He washing the field, right? So I wanted to, just for fun, as like a little fun think exercise, I'm gonna list out a person, and you tell me with prep time, could Batman take him out? Okay. All right, let's just go crazy. Let's go crazy. Could Batman take out Omni-Man with prep time?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, because we're not gonna get a chance to get to the invisible topic today, but just know that the Butcher Mites, they have weaknesses.
Yes, they do.
Cecil is finding ways to give them a problem.
Yo,
so Batman can definitely give him.
Okay, that's a good argument. That's a damn good argument. Is that if Cecil can keep him under control, which, by the way, yeah, you're right. No, that's a damn good argument. Is that Cecil has him under wraps, under control, and we know how good Cecil is. Batman, oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, all right. My friend who I had this debate with earlier, I'm about to list this next person. He said absolutely no chance Batman takes him out. Matter of fact, he said Batman is squashed immediately. Goku.
Okay, all the way to beat Goku. Dragon Ball Z is such a. I love it. I love it. It's forever hold a place in my heart. It's such a meathead show. Like Dragon Ball Z has one rule: you got to be stronger than the other person. There's no strategy. There's no nothing to it.
It's just like who wants more?
If you're not stronger than the person, if you don't have better hands or a spirit bomb, it's a wrap. So,
but with prep time, like Batman has time, like he has weeks to prepare for a fight with Goku.
Unless that prep time says, "Let me go get the Dragon Balls and wish I was stronger than Goku."
Nah. Okay. So okay, hold on. I gotta pull it up. Let me see. Batman. Would you take Batman versus Batman or Black Panther?
That's a tough one. Because in terms of being canonically smart in Marvel and based off the comic logic, there's only like 3 people that are smarter than T'Challa.
Right.
And one of them is Shuri, who makes all his stuff. And the other is Reed Richards, who's the smartest in the multiverse. Right.
I'd probably say Doom too,
but Doom, that's an argument that can be made. Doom and Tony Stark and T'Challa are probably like all what in terms of. And I think Batman is closer to that tier. So while I do think that Batman will probably find a way to counteract vibranium, and I think martial arts wise it can be kind of what, but T'Challa does have the power of the Black Panther. I think Batman will give him a run for his money, but at the end of the day, the Black Panther is he got it.
I disagree. I think Batman taking out Black Panther, and I actually think he's taking out Black Panther fairly easily because look, Batman, we gotta talk about.
Can't take out the Joker easily. What are we talking about here?
No, that like, Joker's different though. Joker's different.
I think so for real.
I don't think Black Panther can take out Joker.
What?
Nah. You see, the thing about Joker.
What about Bane? What about Bane?
Could the Black Panther take out Bane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Batman couldn't take out Bane.
Depends on the edition.
Literally broke his back.
It depends. Well, in the Dark Knight Rises, yeah, but I mean,
in the comics.
But also, even in Dark Knight Rising, towards the end of the movie, Batman was giving Bane hands.
That's because Bane had a philosophical thing that was going on.
Yeah, I think Batman could be
Batman and Spider-Man. Even if we're going off of the movie version, they have this fundamental flaw that I hate about watching them as main characters. They get their ass whooped so bad, and then they just inch out the wind. I was like, I hate that. Like, yo, put some hands on people.
See, I'm not even gonna ask you Batman or Superman because that's a stupid. That's stupid.
Actually, I think Batman has a better chance of being Superman than he does being Goku. Even though I think that Superman is stronger than Goku.
But we've seen Batman fight Kryptonians.
Yeah, he has such an obvious.
Yeah.
You get the kryptonite, you won.
Yeah, because I don't think Saiyans have a true, like, tangible weakness.
The only difference between Saiyans and humans is genetic potential. So Saiyans got the potential to be stronger. That's why they train all crazy. And that's why I hate the argument when people be like, oh, red pill, blue pill, you want to be a Kryptonian or a Saiyan? Guess what, man? If you don't, like, train like a UFC fighter times a million, you're never going to be Goku. If you're a Saiyan,
dude, okay.
You're just going to be a nigga with a tail.
Rank these 3. Kryptonians, Viltrumites, or Saiyans? Strongest to weakest.
Yellow Sun?
Mm-hmm. Yellow Sun, Yellow Sun, yeah.
Yellow Sun, Kryptonians.
Okay. I'd go with the same way. Viltrumites are the weakest?
Viltrumites are weak as hell.
They're not weak as hell. They're not weak as hell. But they're
pretty weak though.
I don't see Battle Beast is giving them hands.
They're very similar to Saiyans in terms of how and why they're strong. They like I don't know if you remember, but like in early Dragon Ball Z, which they kind of just like retcon this, but it was like every time a Saiyan almost dies, they get a power boost, and then they come back, and then like their floor is just way higher. Now it's kind of like how Viltrumites work. So the author made it to where like their cells, they remember the trauma and stuff that goes through it. So you can't kill it. you can't hurt the Viltrumite the same way twice,
Right.
essentially. If it's something that it can beat, if it's something that ends up beating. So it's kind of similar to that. But this thing about Viltrumite, you can kill it. And I think Viltrumites are probably the dumbest of all those races because, bro, there's like 50 of them left.
Because they kill each other.
Exactly. That's why I said they're like the dumbest of the race. They culled off they went a culling on their entire species, and then now all they have to do is like inbreed. That's why, like, it's just bad.
Well, that's why that's why it's so important that they want to conquer Earth, because humans are the most compatible with Viltrumite biology. Yeah. So you could create almost a nearly perfect Viltrumite with a human.
And until I see one of them blow up the planet, it's hard for me to put almost anybody over a Saiyan.
A Saiyan.
Yeah.
That's what my friend said. I'm gonna send this to him. I'm gonna make sure he sees this because he's gonna feel good that you agreed with him.
But I will say they do have some versions of Superman that are just like ridiculous. Like all my anime people out there, you do not want to put an anime character against a classic age comic book character because some of those feats are ridiculous. They have a version of Superman that powered up to the point to where he pulled the timeline.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, man. Like,
I mean, yeah, no, these kind of conversations are always like so fun to have because, I mean, I feel like we need to get like somebody needs to make a video where they just have a battle royale of all your strongest comic book characters and just throw them out there and just see who comes out on top. And I'm gonna be real with you. Does Superman is it fair that Superman even participates because he's just so OP?
Yeah, but it's like a lot of people strong. Superman not even the strongest person in DC.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually, yeah, you're very true.
But Mr. Manhattan getting him out of there. Like,
Mr. Manhattan. Oh, yeah. We can't.
Yeah.
Mr. Manhattan or Adam Eve? Adam Eve on the brink of death.
Adam Eve, because she's OP. I don't think she can die. Like,
that's a tie.
She might be OP. That's a tie.
Look, this is our episode of Nerdology, y'all. This was a great episode. I had so much fun with this episode. Yep. We just the interesting conversations. We're gonna keep the conversations going well into next week's episode. But before we do, obviously we can't leave out without plugging in what's next coming up on IMS. So Monday, Jai, you want to tell what's happening on Monday?
Monday.
Yo.
JTS After Dark mock draft. First round mock draft for all my football heads. We will be putting our GM hats on. Me, Chris, and a couple of other guys in the IMS family are going to play GM to multiple teams, multiple franchises, going through and picking what we think is the best prospect. So please tune in to that on the IMS Studios YouTube channel. It'll probably be up Tuesday. We don't live stream Monday. I do both. So be on the lookout for that. Real exciting thing happening over there at IMS.
You want to give them
IMS Studios.
So I'm excited about that. I'm gonna be making my appearance on the show, like you said. CL Smooth Gaming gonna be putting on my NFL GM hat. Look, I love the NFL. It's my favorite sports league. It's my favorite football. It's my favorite sport. It always has been. So it's so much fun always talking about football, taking a break from the nerd stuff, talking about football. It's always a delight. So that's gonna tune into that, y'all. Tune into that. Like, comment, subscribe to CL Smooth Gaming, to IMS Productions. Go check out JTS After Dark as well. My boy Justin does a lot of good work out there.
Yes. Follow him on all social JTOwn Sports. If you want any updates, any news, follow that.
Yeah, if you are a sports head, that is the man to follow. That dude is on it. He's on top of everything. So anything that's breaking, anything that's the latest, he got it. So follow him. Tune into that on Monday. We have tune into I'm trying to plug in why am I forgetting this game? Fortnite. What the fuck? Fortnite. Jesus. Oh man, it's been a long day, y'all. It's been a long day. I've been up since 2 a.m. Tune into our Fortnite gameplays that we're going to be posting on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok as well throughout the week. And then, of course, next Friday, Nerdology episode 5, season 2, episode 5 comes out. So man, until then, what a great show we had tonight. Appreciate everybody who tuned in. We said we had a couple of people tuned in, so appreciate all of y'all. And we're just gonna keep getting bigger and better. By the way, thank you to the 3 people who subscribed to the channel this week. That is, you guys are appreciated. Welcome to the family. And just make sure you go and subscribe to IMS as well. So with that being said, we're gonna leave it on that note. Great show. We'll catch you all next Friday.
Peace.